as of now, there are 171,476 words in the English language. 171,476 words, and all our lives seem to revolve around one single word: success. Now, by definition, success is the accomplishment of an aim or purpose. Okay, now if I'm being honest, that's a pretty broad definition. But what that means is that it's up to us to implement that definition into our day-to-day lives. Unfortunately, over the years, we handed off the job of determining what it meant to become successful and what it meant to be successful from ourselves to our communities and eventually to society as a whole. So what was supposed to be this complex plan, unique to each individual person and their talents, turned into this linear, one-dimensional path. But it's no secret that everybody's different. If you were to look around this room right now, you would see that there's not one person that is exactly the same as you are. And that's because you're unique in your own special way. Sadly, something we all have in common is that we're all guilty of seeing the path to success as this linear, one-dimensional path. But that's not your fault. Hell, it's not my fault either, but what can be your fault is what you decide to do when you realize you've fallen into this trap. Growing up, I was one of two children from immigrant parents, my mom being Filipino and my dad being Middle Eastern. And as a kid, they would always tell me, when you grow up, you should do this, and when you grow up, you should do this. More specifically, my mom, being Filipino, would always tell me that I should be a nurse or a doctor. And my dad, well, being a dad, would always tell me that I should be a mechanic or a lawyer if I didn't want to get my hands dirty. But that's not what I wanted to do. Now, don't get me wrong, those are great careers and they can get you really far in life, but that's not what I wanted to do. In middle school, I played basketball. And so naturally, when my parents would tell me these things, I would tell them, I don't want to be a doctor. I don't want to be a lawyer. I want to play basketball. How ambitious of me. As you can see, I didn't grow up to be 6'3", and I was terrible at basketball when I played it. But don't worry, because I just discovered a little thing called high school football. And I wanted to play at the next level, and I was going to make it happen. And at first, things were going great. My sophomore year, I was a starter. I was a captain on the JV team, and I even got pulled up to varsity for playoffs. In the offseason, I was becoming stronger, faster, and a better player overall, and everything was on this smooth path, and then COVID hit. And we all know how that one went. Now, it didn't take me long to come to terms with my crushed dreams, but now I had an issue. And you may be wondering, what could be a bigger issue than a pandemic raging on in the background? Well, like many of you stuck in quarantine, I didn't know what I wanted to do in my life. More specifically, I didn't know what I wanted to do in my future. I didn't want to be a doctor. I didn't want to be a lawyer. I didn't want to be a mechanic, even though that sounds kind of fun. At this point in my life, I was scared. Now, I don't mean that I was scared of people coughing in my face, but I was scared that I would become one of society's rejects. That I would graduate high school, get my diploma, get a job, and work paycheck to paycheck for the rest of my life. Or I could go to college and change my major 17 different times because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I felt like I was out of options. But one day, my buddy Magnus gives me a call, and he asks me, have you ever thought about joining the Marine Corps? And yeah, it had always been a thought in the back of my mind, so I tell him, yeah, I've been keeping it as a backup plan in case I ever needed it. So we both agreed that one day we'd walk into the recruiting office and we'd ask a couple questions about it. Well, one day came, and out of the blue, I had a Marine Corps recruiter calling me on my own cell phone, asking me if I wanted to join. Now, I personally think that's a case of divine intervention, but Magnus still argues that he had something to do with that up to this day. All that aside, all of a sudden I had my purpose. So, sometime later, my recruiter and I sat down and we made a plan. And I was happy with my plan. So, on May 28th, 2021, I enlisted into the United States Marine Corps. However, even though I'd accomplished my plan of having my future planned out for me before the end of high school, nothing about that was considered successful. To be considered successful in today's society, you need to have a six-figure salary. To be considered successful in today's society, you need to have a house on a cul-de-sac in a nice suburban neighborhood. To be considered successful in today's society, you need to have a really, really nice car that you only drive once a month on a Sunday because you're too scared to scratch its paint. But that's the issue, or that's at least where I believe the problem to be. We get so caught up in society's interpretation of success that we forget to take a look at the smaller picture. That picture being what you consider success to be. For me, I wanted a car. It was a 1998 Honda Prelude Type SH, 200 plus horsepower, and it had a little thing called VTEC, which kept the car fast while making it a whole lot more gas friendly. Now, I knew that if I wanted this car, I had to go out and go get it. So, what did I do? Well, I got a job at this very civilized and prestigious institution called Little Caesars. Now the job sucked, and the pizza sucked even more, but I took every paycheck I got from there and I saved it. But even that wasn't enough, so soon enough, I found that I was sacrificing time to relax, time with my friends, and even time to do homework just to work an extra hour. But it wasn't long before I had enough money. And soon enough, I had the keys to my own 98 Prelude. Now, I will admit it was a pretty crappy car, and it took a whole lot of work to keep it running. But it taught me a lot of things, like what parts did what and how to do my own tune-ups. Funny enough, the car broke down on Thanksgiving Day, and I had to sell it. But I still considered that to be a success. Sure, I blew a lot of time and money on it, but it made me happy for the 6 months that I had it. I got to make new memories with my best friends, and best of all, I taught myself how to work on cars. However, in that situation, in society's eyes, I was just a failure. And that was just a colossal waste of time and money. And also, to add insult to injury, my future career in the Marine Corps wasn't exactly seen as a bright future by many. But let me tell you a story about a Gunnery Sergeant Flores. At around my age, Gunnery Sergeant Flores wanted to join the military, and so what better to do than to join the best fighting branch in the United States? In boot camp, Jose Flores, like many Marines that came before him, endured 13 weeks of hell, and in the crucible was molded into a United States Marine, a title and an honor that only so few people get to hold. Today, he's a drill instructor for the Marines. But not only that, he has also obtained his PhD by utilizing the Marine Corps' tuition assistance program. Now, he's a success, right? That's a success. He's a doctor, he has no student loan debt, and he's even getting into real estate all the while being active duty. But if we were to take a look at Gunnery Sergeant Flores back when he was just about to enter boot camp, that would have been a different story. He would have been seen as cannon fodder, or a future PTSD case waiting to happen. Titles of which I myself have been labeled as. And I haven't even been to boot camp yet. But that's just the thing. We get so caught up in achieving success a certain way, by a certain age, doing certain things, that we judge people who want to achieve success their own way. We force ourselves to judge people who want to achieve success in a way different than our own. What we need to realize is that we're all different. We all come from different families, different cultures, different financial backgrounds. So this generalized plan isn't going to work. This linear, one-dimensional path isn't going to work for such a diverse group of people. Because even though going to college, getting a job, starting a family, and retiring early are all nice things, one, it may not work for everybody. And two, some people might have different goals in life. Albert Einstein once said that everybody is a genius. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, then it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. Likewise, everybody has what it takes to achieve their goals. But But if you keep trying to conform yourself to this plan that just isn't working for you, you're going to live the rest of your life believing that you are not and that you will never be successful. The people we consider to be successful today aren't remembered because they went the traditional path. They're remembered because they were trailblazers. They made their own path and they beat everyone who told them they couldn't do it. So make the decision. Take a chance. Take the first step onto the unbeaten path. Better yet, take the first step onto your path. The path where you make the decisions. The path where you achieve success in a way built for you and only you. So it goes without saying that society has a way of telling you what it means to be successful. But being successful shouldn't be what looks better in the eyes of your peers. Being successful should be managing to be happy with less than always being sad wanting more. So make your plan. It doesn't have to be perfect, but what it has to do is it has to work for you. Take a chance. Take your first step. Make sure that when it's time for you to leave this life, you don't have any regrets. And remember one thing. Life is unpredictable, and you should be too. Thank you.